How's it going, guys? I'm Robert from Machado Visuals, and here's a quick lighting breakdown on a recent commercial I did for a bar at the Venetian. The whole video was centered around the lead bartender, and one of the scenes featured her speaking directly to camera, which is what I'll be focusing on in this breakdown. In terms of location, we were given access to one of the old theaters that was in the process of being torn down. It was a great location and fantastic space, and it gave us plenty of room to work in. Here's what the space initially looked like, and here's the final frame. There were three main areas I wanted to feature in the background: the bar that was already dressed, the piano, and the grand staircase leading to the curtain in the back. My first order of business was shutting off all the house lights so we had complete control of where we placed our light. We didn't want any contamination, and I wanted to start off with a clean slate. I wanted to maintain a warmer palette to coincide with the bar's aesthetic, so I rated the camera at 3200 Kelvin and primarily used tungsten lights. Since we struck all the house lights, that meant we had to light the entire background to avoid it appearing as a gaping black hole. To light the bar, I slid a few of my Quasar crossfade tubes under the bottles to give them a warm glow at 2700 Kelvin. They were coming in a little bright, so I plugged both tubes into a power strip and dimmed the power strip so they wouldn't blow out in the background. For the piano, we stuck another crossfade to the back to illuminate the wall and throw the piano in silhouette. Doing this added more warmth to the background, and you're still able to depict the piano in the background because of its shape. We also added a chimera pancake on a Minimax arm stage right to add a little bit of lift. This was my first time using the Minimax, and it's super handy when you need to boom a light with some height. To top it off, I threw my Aries 650 in the background to give a sort of theater uplight vibe on the curtain. This also helped separate our subject from the background, especially since she has darker hair. If we hadn't lit the curtain, the upper third would have been pretty dark, and it would have been a little difficult to distinguish the talent. I tend to not use backlights, so I instead try to find other ways to visually separate the subject from the background. To light our subject, I threw up an 8x frame and blasted my 1K Rifa softbox through the diffusion. Not only did I want to use a large source to soften the light on the talent, but also to help with light fall off. In a nutshell, light falls off exponentially, so the farther the source is, the less intensity is affected. This basically means that I can back the light out, and any shifts in the talent's position won't affect the light's intensity nearly as much as if they were right next to the light. We used two FS7s for this scene and essentially shot it as a two-camera interview. In terms of lensing, we stuck with a set of Canon CNEs. They were great and sharp for the most part, but I did notice a fair amount of barrel distortion on the 35mm in a previous scene. Since this was a pretty low-key scene, I wasn't particularly concerned with highlight latitude, so I rated the camera at 500 EI to push further into the shadow detail and clean up the noise floor. On our second camera, we used an 85mm for a medium close-up. We were able to catch the bar on the left side of frame, but the right fell into that black hole I mentioned earlier, and to get around this, we put my Kino housing with two leftover crossfade tubes in the frame to give it just a little bit of life and kind of match with the bar. For camera support, we rocked a Dana Dolly on 8 cameras since the scene started with a subtle push-in. We actually had to motion track the book and replace one of the pages during the move, and shout out to Larissa for absolutely killing that in post. I'd also like to point out that we used the Nucleus M for wireless focus control, and it was kind of a nightmare. The unit would keep disconnecting, and it was just a super pain to use. It probably cost us about 20 minutes total while trying to diagnose what was wrong with the dang thing. Granted, it was my first time using the unit, and it wasn't my first choice, but I definitely do not recommend using new gear on jobs until you've had a chance to learn the ins and outs of that piece of equipment. Just wanted to briefly mention that. Other than that, I was pretty happy with how this setup came out, and I'm totally stoked to see this ad running on the casino floor. I hope this video is helpful in some way, and if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.